Bondrewd was my favorite part of the Made in Abyss movie. He was a fantastic antagonist who did unashamedly horrible things for selfish reasons, while still having a gentle and caring demeanor. While I loved his personality and just the way he said, "Subarashi," I knew there must be more to my appreciation of him, but it wasn't until I rewatched the series that I truly began to understand why Bondrewd is one of the best antagonists I've ever seen in fiction. And a big part of that is because he is the essence of the entire story. Bondrewd's character parallels with our main character Rico, which is extremely common in storytelling, but unlike many stories where the villain has a similar belief of the main characters, Bondrewd never compares himself with any of them except at the very end to confirm that they had a stronger will than he did. There wasn't any "we're the same" moment, or any kind of justification for the horrible things Bondrewd did. He had no justification because he didn't need one. He did what he did because he wanted to, and Rico, Reg, and Nanachi did what they did because they wanted to. This is how Bondrewd perceived the situation. I'll get more into this in a minute. First, I want to talk about Bondrewd's personality traits because, as you'll see later in the video, they're very important. Bondrewd acts as a gentleman. He is never rude, he never curses or complains, and he talks a lot about his philosophy and how everything comes back to love. In his own way, I believe he treats everyone so kindly because he loves them, but he also has goals and aspirations which he loves more, to the point of sacrificing everything and everyone else in order to achieve. The love Bondrewd shows in the movie isn't a truly caring or sacrificial love, but more of a deep respect. He knew the names of every single one of the children he took to perform experiments on. He knew their interests and goals and never despised them. To him, it was necessary to use them, perhaps for his idea of the greater good, but ultimately to satiate his curiosity, which is a huge theme of Made in Abyss, but still not exactly its essence. Another part of Bondrewd that I cannot fail to mention is his calm strength. And mostly by this I mean, he is super freaking cool. He has a presence like Darth Vader when he walks into the room, and there's always a constant tension around him because he is always so calm. You never know what he's going to do. There's no hint in his voice of whether he is about to offer you cookies or tell you he started torturing your friend to see how he works. The design of his character is absolutely amazing as well, but the essence of Bondrewd's character and of Made in Abyss itself is shown within the tragic backstory for Perushka. She was born in the Abyss and dealt with a tragic accident involving the curse where she lost everything, including her sense of self. While her purpose was to be used in experiments and it would have been easier, and it could have even been seen as merciful at that point, to kill her, Bondrewd instead holds her up like she's his daughter and says, "Child of suffering who curses life itself. Certainly there is something only you can accomplish." Although a lot about why Bondrewd does things is unknown, we know a very important philosophy he believes in wholeheartedly, and that is the value of suffering. As a White Whistle, Bondrewd must have gone through many hardships to acquire such a status. The horrors of the Abyss are very extreme. We don't know from the anime what exactly has led him to this, but he understands the value of struggling, and this is what I believe is the essence of Made in Abyss, but it's a little more complex than that. From the beginning of the story, it is shown to be simply an adventure, and I really mean it when I say this is just a wholesome kids adventuring show, because that is the basis for the story. There's nothing forcing Rico to journey into the Abyss. There's no inciting incident for her needing to do something. She believes her mother is waiting for her, but Liza specifically wanted her daughter to choose for herself what she would do with her life. It is purely an adventure, and Rico's motivations reflect that, as going through the Abyss with her friends is more important to her than just finding the bottom. But that isn't its essence or its deepest theme. Made in Abyss's essence is the essence of humanity, struggling until you die. While it sounds bleak, it's actually the exact opposite. It's accepting the truth and dealing with its pain, either physical pain, getting to the point of death, or emotional pain of loss and tragedy. Made in Abyss finds beauty in the horrible. The intense pain and suffering of journeying through the Abyss isn't a punishment for overstepping your bounds and going beyond your means. It's just part of the adventure, and without it, it would be meaningless. If everything was already known about the Abyss, no one would explore it. Just like if our future was already known, life would be so dull and empty. For cave raiders, the Abyss gives their life meaning. The longing for something more is more precious than life itself, like a martyr confidently expecting to see the reward in heaven while still not knowing exactly what awaits them. Taking a step back, Made in Abyss's essence is summed up in some of Bondrewd's final words to Nanachi after accepting his defeat. May your journey overflow with curses and blessings. And he meant this in the most respectful and well-meaning way. Made in Abyss isn't just about getting through the suffering so you can be happy again. It's appreciating the suffering because it has value too. Because the struggle is necessary for growth, it's part of the good. And thinking about it in this way will make you much happier. It's the journey is more important than the treasure trope, although in Made in Abyss, the journey is filled with constant pain and suffering. This leads us all the way back to the beginning of Bondrewd being the essence of Made in Abyss. Problems are simply problems. Blessings are blessings and curses are curses. Bondrewd took everything in stride as we saw from his attitude, and honestly, I think he is a great example for how to live your life. Instead of blaming yourself, blaming others, even blaming God for struggles, pain, and losses, it can be comforting knowing that no matter what, it is simply part of the blessings and curses. And when you look at the world as Bondrewd did, they are the same thing. Instead of viewing problems as something just to get through to get back to good times, Bondrewd views it as a different kind of blessing. The curse is just as real and necessary as the blessing, so he embraces them both equally. This is mirrored in his experiments, as the curse that makes it nearly impossible to journey further than the 5th level also causes blessings of turning into a hollow, like Nanachi, which is Bondrewd's goal to recreate with his own body, at least one of them. Bondrewd's full motivations are never explained, and I think that's really good for the story. Bondrewd isn't just a metaphor, he's a person, but with a very strong philosophy. Because of this, his interactions with the children that ended up defeating him were not negative. Despite losing out on years of research and careful planning, he respected that they did what they wanted and that they had the will to be successful. After all, everyone in this conflict just wanted to know more about the Abyss. I'm not saying he is completely right in his philosophy, as the guy also killed hundreds of children, but it's interesting to see the reason for his very gracious and admirable attitude through his interactions with Team Rico. For all these reasons, his personality, his design, his commanding presence, his philosophy, and how he portrayed the essence of Made in Abyss itself, Bondrewd is one of the best characters in all of anime. And all of this development is from nearly just one movie. Made in Abyss has some truly remarkable storytelling. I feel a little rusty getting back into analysis content, but I hope I got my point across and you learned a little bit more about Made in Abyss. Let me know in the comments what you think, and subscribe if you want to see more Made in Abyss analysis from me. Thanks for watching, Jamio.